Hello there and welcome back to Let's Play Sherlock Holmes, Crimes and Punishments. I'm the RNGenius, but you may call me Eric. We are still dealing with the Kew Gardens case. In the last episode we examined the liquid that we found back there in the garden buried. It was a fertilizer, and we did an experiment on those deadly plants and found out how to make the Diabolica plant exhale a deadly poison. And we also finished up with Montague's office. I completely neglected his desk last time. There was a letter. He planned on releasing Miss White from her duty. I'm definitely gonna ask her about that now. That is happening right now. Also Seed House. Let's look at that sign.
What should we... Seed House.
So it says examined. Dude, walk. Thank you. Hello, Miss White.
Can you tell me what Mr. Dunn was doing upon the day of his death?
I can, but there is nothing very special to say. I was in the laboratory when I saw Mr. Dunn heading towards me. Tuesday is the day of his weekly visit. It was supposed to be at 9, but he was 10 minutes late, as usual.
And then?
Well, he came in to say good morning. Then I saw him spend 2 or 3 minutes by the plants outside the laboratory. After that, he ran out in the direction of the nursery, where Mr. Hamish was working. He was always in a rush during the inspection, you see. I would pity anyone who stood in his way.
And that was the last time you saw him?
Yes. I stayed in the laboratory until 20 minutes to 11, when I heard the cries of Albert and Mr. Hamish from the large glass house. I joined them as soon as I could, for I knew that something must be very wrong.
What exactly were you doing in the laboratory?
I was recording an experiment for my thesis. I only stopped my work once when Mr. Hamish visited me briefly around 10 o'clock.
You say you were recording an experiment when the tragedy occurred. Might I listen to the roll?
Certainly. Please do. You will find it in the laboratory. It is number 320.
The Divine Syndicate. Does that name mean anything to you, by any chance?
Not at all. But it is a very pretty name.
Thank you, miss.
Well, I wonder if you'd still think of it as a very pretty name after you know, took a little bit of their cocaine. But that's cool. That's cool. Let us take a look at the record 320. That's the colonial area right there. So where's that record? In there? Yes. 320.
Here it is.
Any others?
Cylinder Records.
Nothing interesting. This one.
These plants, classified as shrubs or grasses, have adapted to their arid environment due to a system of underground roots.
This recording seems very long. It is unnecessary to listen to all of it. Miss White was in the laboratory, as she told us.
Wow. So she has an alibi. Cool. Cool. Hey yo. What do you know about fertilizer? Never mind.
Can you tell me if you saw Mr. Montague Dunn on the day of his death?
Yes, of course. I met him, and we went to see Albert, his son, at around 9:30. He appeared quite calm.
What were you doing on the morning of the accident?
After paying multiple visits to Albert, I had a little talk with Miss White. Then I returned to my desk to complete some paperwork. Suddenly I observed that Mr. Dunn was not feeling well, so I ran immediately to fetch Albert. I clearly remember that it was around 10:30, for I was late that morning.
Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation.
10:30, and Miss White said it was 20 to 11 when she heard the screaming. Damn it, I actually have to pay attention now.
Your father's death does seem highly suspicious. What were your movements here on that day?
Suspicious? Well, I was working in the seed house, taking care of something, or Lear Pontus, or... No, wait. Ah, these Latin names. And I spent so many hours trying to memorize them.
Did you see your father that day?
Yes. He came here with Mr. Hamish for his weekly visit. There was nothing unusual about that.
And then?
Nothing. They stepped out to the backyard. It was perhaps 20 minutes before 10 o'clock. And about 10 minutes later, I saw my father heading for the dry tropics room while Mr. Hamish returned here.
And Mr. Hamish and Miss White, what were they both doing that morning?
Mr. Hamish visited me a couple of times. I also saw him returning from talking with Miss White, and that was at 10 minutes past 10. But then he ran back here to me to tell me that my father was feeling unwell. We hurried across to the water lily room, and I found my father lying dead on the floor. Oh, my God.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you again soon.
Sometime later.
Everyone has gone, Holmes. The way is clear.
Continue the investigation at Kew Gardens completed. Inhaling the spores. Escaping the room. No. First inhaling the spore. No. That is not inhaling the spores, is it? Escaping the room. He knocks over his own statue. Stumbles out the door, wants to leave, but the door is locked. So he breaks it open.
When Montague Dunn was standing close by the plants, the caterpillars were released and caused the deadly spores to activate. Panicking, and likely already half asphyxiated, Montague Dunn started back and knocked over the bust. He rushed to the door, but it was locked. He had to force it open with his shoulder. We already know the outcome. Montague Dunn collapsed and died not far from the pool. Well, it is time to perform our experiment on the ventilation system.
It is. The caterpillars have to have come from somewhere, right?
The caterpillars could only fall from the ventilation duct. Our caterpillars are in place. I'll activate the ventilation system so that they fall down. Watson, stay here and observe.
All right, Holmes.
What's with that? Why'd you tell me to activate that? What's up with the ventilation system? Huh. We'll do that afterwards. Why is it telling me to constantly keep this activated? Ah, that's the ventilation system. That's what you're trying to tell me, huh? So I can find the way over here. Transmission. What's that? On. Power?
The power is on.
And then start it
The
up.
engine has started.
Well,
The ventilation system is working.
that's cool. Now let's go back. We could look in from this area. Or honestly, you could. You could use this window. That's right over here. Where was that window? Where was that window? Oh, it's actually not where I thought it was gonna be. The window does not, if you open it, you cannot look out into the colonial room. Which is right in there. And Watson is still standing underneath the caterpillars. He's probably pretty happy about what's going on there. Yep, this is the window. This is the window that opens up. So there's no real good look you can get from there. I started up the engine. I don't think there's anything else I want to be doing here. So let's run back inside.
Dry trop.
Don't read. Can you walk? Thank you. Pots.
These flower pots are beautiful. They are intended to be used for exhibition purposes. The symbol is not from Kew Gardens.
What? Where'd those come from? A new symbol to look up. Huh. I did not find those pots previously, huh? What's with that's probably just a water hose. And we want to go in here.
Now we need to see if we can activate the fans from Mr. Hamish's and Albert's space.
Alright, let's go to Albert's space. Dude. I'm just gonna go around in first person mode because then we don't have the third person mode shenanigans, I hope. Oh god, this is causing nausea. No, we're not gonna be able to do that. This is the tropics room. I probably am supposed to go in here with that activated, so we see the switch. Huh. Where do you suppose that's activatable? From here? There's a switch.
Before I activate the fan, I need to check if the interior of the Colonial Collection Room can be seen from here.
I did not
We
see
can
that
the
window.
interior of the Colonial Collection Room from this window. Excellent. This ventilation fan is working. Let us see if I can activate the other one.
Where would the other one be? Probably a couple rooms over. In the seed house, huh?
From here, we are unable to see the interior of the Colonial Collection Room. Perfect. Now I just need to find Watson to check the result.
It works perfectly, Holmes. Bravo. Now, if you could just help me to get rid of these caterpillars.
Perfect. Now we know how the murder of Montague Dunn was carried out, by activating both Albert's and Mr. Hamish's fans.
But only from Mr. Hamish's workplace would it be possible to see when Montague Dunn entered the Colonial Collection Room.
Let's check. Ventilation used. Deadly precision. Hamish's opportunity. Martin Hamish had the opportunity to stimulate the deadly plants in the Colonial Collection Room. As a biologist, he would have understood the technicality of how to do this. Hamish is guilty. Martin Hamish could be the killer. He had the opportunity to steal the Divine Syndicate's plants and stimulate them from his workplace directly after he had locked Montague Dunn inside the Colonial Collection Room. Arrest Martin Hamish. Effect the arrest of Martin Hamish. That's the first time I get a command like that before saying, oh, he's guilty.
Let's go to Scotland Yard.
Not yet. Not yet. What do we got here? White studies Albert's ambition. Albert's lack of experience. Albert is not very good at botany. It is doubtful that he could have learned how the plants might release their deadly spores. Albert studies. Albert had the biological knowledge to stimulate the deadly plants. I actually don't think so. Even though he had the strongest white studies, she does have the... She would be able to do this. Huh. Well, I don't have, I can't say that Hamish's opportunity is wrong, so since Miss White has a perfect alibi, I don't think she actually did it. But she does technically have the knowledge. What if I say this? Doesn't work with this either. But first... Of course, we're there now. Let's look at my archives. And search for that S. Symbol on the flower pots found at Kew Gardens. The pots did not belong there. Religious, skull and crossbone, London garden supplies. Seymour's London... Seymour's garden equipment and supplies. We are a premium supplier for all your landscape, gardening and timber requirements. Full range and supply and delivery of sand, soils, mulches, pots, and anything else you may need. 3 Blurton Road, London.
Here it is.
There are no clues available at the moment. Please continue the investigation. That means I haven't found everything yet. Huh. What happened to the bees, anyways?
A map of...
Well, let's go to Scotland Yard and arrest that guy, but this will not end the case. This will only let me interrogate him, I think. That's why I'm gonna do it right now. And we're gonna be able to look at his personal belongings. Where is Lestrade?
Inspector, I believe that Martin Hamish is guilty of the murder of Montague Dunn.
Aha! I knew it. I'll send the lads around to arrest him.
Very good. I shall wait to hear from you.
I did not like the sound of that. I think Martin Hamish is... I just want to look at... I just want to look through his stuff. He doesn't have the strongest motive of everyone. This is a complicated case. Are we going to be able to do this? We're going to the gardens, aren't we? I do think so, yeah, most likely.
Inspector, I came here as quickly as I could.
Martin Hamish is in the large glass house. There's no need to hurry.
What else do I have? Find out who killed Mr. Montague. Garden of Heaven, 3 Blurton Road. What? Ah. I see. Well, let's go into the large glass house. Is Albert here? He is not.
Holmes, my God!
Yes, we found him like that.
Our messing around with the ventilation system didn't go unnoticed. Mr. Hamish realized that we knew.
Inspector, could you arrange the body, please? I should like to examine it. The mark around the neck is very visible. He died instantly.
Life has become a living hell. I find it unbearable. Dunn deserved to die, but I cannot forgive myself for having his blood upon my hands. We Hamishes seem to have always fallen victim to our circumstance, and I find myself to be no exception. I must atone, and I shall do so here and now. Farewell.
Holmes, his left shoe is unique. This anomaly is often a characteristic of...
A club foot. Bravo, Watson. That is the key element of this case.
Is it? Clubfoot, Hamish's confession. Clubfoot, the worn-down double heel of his left shoe reveals that Martin Hamish suffered from a clubfoot and tibial torsion. Means... Hamish acted alone. Martin Hamish was unable to run due to the tibial torsion on his clubfoot. Therefore, we should find out if he had sufficient time to lock the door of the Colonial Collection Room and activate the ventilation system. Did he have an accomplice? Talk to Lestrade. Discuss with Lestrade the possible impact of new clues found on the body of Martin Hamish.
What should we do next?
I think talking to Lestrade is in order.
Something about this rings very oddly.
Yeah,
Why do you say
the
that,
flashing
Mr.
face.
Why? Because of Mr. Hamish's club foot. Oh, I deserve to be kicked from here to Charing Cross. I should have noticed it.
But, Mr. Holmes, I can't see why.
No, I don't suppose you do. You must recall that Mr. Dunn was locked inside the Colonial Collection Room by the murderer. If it was Mr. Hamish, he would have had to run up to his workplace to trigger the fan situated above it, taking into consideration the condition of his foot.
Well, it is still possible.
Perhaps, but it is rather strange that such a person as Mr. Hamish decided to base his plan on the speed of his gait.
You mean to say that somebody helped him?
So the suicide is questionable?
Correct. Mr. Hamish accuses only himself in his letter, and so the investigation stops.
Possibly an accomplice, then? That idea had not occurred to me, Mr. Holmes.
I have another idea, Inspector. Thanks to the testimony that we have collected, we are able to rebuild the events as they took place that day.
With a timeline, such as we did in the Jack the Ripper case.
Precisely.
The map at the entrance of Kew Gardens should help us with our timeline.
Uh-oh.
Let us analyze the facts and statements so that we may recreate the events of that morning.
Uh-oh. Martin Hamish and Montague Dunn went to meet Albert in the Seat House at around 9:30. Martin Hamish and Montague Dunn. Albert meets Montague Dunn and Martin Hamish at the Seat House. It was around 20 minutes to 10 when Hamish and Montague Dunn went out to the backyard. After 10 minutes, Dunn recommenced his inspection and entered the dry tropics room. Hamish returned to the Seat House. 20 minutes to 10. Minutes to 10. Martin Hamish had a conversation with Miss White at 10 o'clock. Miss White was in the laboratory until 10:40 when she saw Hamish and Albert in the water lily greenhouse and joined them there. Hamish ran to Albert as soon as he observed that Montague Dunn was unwell, which was at around 10:30. Albert was in the Seat House the entire morning. He observed Hamish returning from visiting Miss White at 10 minutes past 10. Albert was in the Seat House the entire morning. Huh. Albert was in the Seat House the entire morning. He observed Hamish returning from visiting Miss White at 10 minutes past 10. So at least here, at 10 minutes past 10, at least here he would have had to be able inside of the Seat House. He observed Hamish returning from visiting Miss White at 10 minutes past 10. Play events. That's pretty cool. It was around 20 minutes to 10 when Hamish and Montague Dunn went out to the backyard. After 10 minutes, Dunn recommenced his inspection and entered the dry tropics room. Hamish returned to the Seat House. Again. So this doesn't... Oh, no. So this doesn't add up, is it? Montague, Dunn, and Hamish go out into the backyard. Montague Dunn is in the dry tropics room. Yeah, that doesn't work. It was around 20 minutes to 10 when Hamish and Montague went out to the backyard. After 10 minutes, Dunn recommenced his inspection and entered the dry tropics room. Here. Hamish returned to the Seat House. They talk, they go in there together. They part ways. He's in the colonial room. He's dead. Both walk over.
Let us summarize. Montague Dunn was poisoned inside the Colonial Collection Room. He forced open the door, which means that someone locked him inside there at 10:20. Martin Hamish was last seen at 10:10. This means that he has approximately 10 minutes to lock the door of the Colonial Collection Room. Given that he was club-footed, it is doubtful. Albert also has 10 minutes to lock the door of the Colonial Collection Room, which is quite enough time. Miss White was last seen at 10 o'clock, which means that she had approximately 20 minutes to lock the door. More than enough time. Perfect, Watson. Now, let us ascertain who assisted Martin Hamish in killing Montague Dunn.
White's timeline and Hamish's timeline. So both are possible. Albert is not involved. Martin Hamish and Albert are not accomplices. It is unlikely that Albert would have had the opportunity, and 10 minutes would have not been enough to lock the door of the Colonial Collection Room. Albert had time. Albert was Martin Hamish's accomplice. 10 minutes would have been enough for him to follow Montague Dunn and lock the door in order that Martin might activate the ventilation system. Well, ain't this evidence against, against Miss White being the murderer? Or locking them in? We didn't even bother looking through all that. Why didn't we? It's quite long. Does she take a break? Well, it couldn't have been her. It couldn't have been her, because I got, well, she'd have to have been in the laboratory. White is not involved. Martin Hamish and Miss White are not accomplices. It is unlikely that White would have had the opportunity, and 10-20 minutes would not have been enough to lock the door of the Colonial Collection. Let's see this. No. Events to timeline. What do we know about Miss White? Martin Hamish had a conversation with Miss White at 10. Was in the laboratory until 10:40. Until 10:40 when she saw Hamish and Albert in the water lily greenhouse and joined them. But didn't she... Ugh, don't give me that. Exit. What progress? What progress? Okay. Okay. Didn't we have a conversation with Mary? Is she called Mary? I think she's called Mary. Kew Gardens, Seed House. Margaret. Never mind. What exactly were you doing? I was recording for my thesis. I only stopped my work once when Mr. Hamish visited me briefly around 10. You say you were recording an experiment when the tragedy occurred. Might I listen to the roll? Oh, certainly, please do. You will find it in the laboratory. Oh, that's an alibi. That is an alibi. Albert had time, and White did not. Albert is an accomplice. Albert is an accomplice. Albert was Martin Hamish's accomplice in killing Montague Dunn. Humiliated repeatedly by his father and denied his dreams, Albert resolved to aid and abet the murderer. Condemn Albert. Albert Dunn killed his father in collaboration with Hamish, citing years of humiliation and frustration at his father dictating his life. We conclude that Albert is a cold-blooded murderer who deserves life in prison. Absolve Albert. Killing Dunn in collaboration with Hamish was the only way to end years of torment and humiliation. We can't allow the police to believe it was Hamish alone, so Albert can go free, but he must live with his conscience. We'll see. I can check afterwards. It's a video game. It is a video game.
What happened, Inspector?
It's all over now, lad. There is no use denying it. We know that you murdered your father. Patricide by plant poisoning. Very alliterative.
What? You're mad. I didn't do it. I don't know anything about botany. No!
Now that doesn't sound right. He is not. Let's replay that then. I don't know anything about botany. You're mad. Fair. So it has to be Margaret. But why? Why didn't I look at the whole roll? Why did I just say, oh, it's quite long. I don't want to listen to all of this. That is dumb. All right. Albert's lack of experience. Albert is not involved. Hamish did it alone. Nah. White had time. White is an accomplice. Hamish acted alone. Partial theft. How does the sect fit in? Why did they end up having those plants? And if I say this? Hamish's opportunity. No. Hamish has to be involved. And then the sect couldn't have done anything. Weird. I guess White is an accomplice. Margaret White and Martin Hamish's accomplice was Martin Hamish's accomplice in killing Montague Dunn. Her professional ambition and her personal situation had been damaged by the breakup with Dunn. Miss White is a dangerous woman, very capable of carrying out an elaborate murder for monetary gain. She flirted with Dunn's son Albert and later pushed Martin Hamish to his suicide. She deserves the rope. Miss White is a desperate woman in debt, resigned to consorting with wealthy gentlemen. When Dunn cast her aside, she killed him in desperation. Hamish tried to save her. She deserves a second chance. Hamish did try to. She seemed quite unhappy about her situation. But this doesn't feel right either. It just doesn't. I don't know. I don't understand why the Divine Syndicate ended up having those plans.
But Holmes, how can you be certain that we'll find Miss White here?
It is obvious, Watson. Just use your brain.
I am using it. I do use it.
Now that the rope has tightened around Martin Hamish, Miss White must act to erase all traces of her implication. After the suicide of her accomplice, there is one final trace remaining. The deadly plants of the Divine Syndicate. She will be there.
Very good. Shall we go?
Just one moment. Now listen to me, Watson. I shall see her alone. You will conceal yourself behind her, quietly.
Whatever are you planning?
Nothing spectacular. The impulses of women have always been a mystery to me. But she is a bold one, and so we must be cautious.
All right. You can count on me, Holmes.
Mr. Holmes, good day to you.
You do not seem surprised, Miss White.
Well, I was expecting you.
Not for too long, I believe. So please tell me, as it is still unclear, who planned the murder? Was it you?
You were wrong, Mr. Holmes.
It was Martin Hamish, then. You managed to convince him to take on a more prominent role.
You could not be further from the truth.
You think that you can fool me?
You don't care what I think.
I am not blaming you, Miss White. You are a young and brilliant woman, trapped in a dull and hostile world. Life has never been easy, men in particular.
You... It is hopeless.
Indeed. Well, it may be true that I cannot yet change the world, but I can spare your life.
My life. There is nothing left to save. I have lost everything. Do you hear me? Everything! And you were just like all the others. You would abuse and take advantage of a vulnerable woman.
I hardly think so. Now just listen to me.
I've tried so hard, but I have had enough.
Miss White, no!
Oh, bummer. Are you, step forward?
I beg you not to do this, Miss White.
Don't come any closer.
Step
Please
forward.
remain calm. We can help you.
Not one step further. Don't try to stop me.
Stop this foolishness. You cannot truly want to die.
No, it's too late.
Suicide is not an option.
Well done, Watson. She was not faking.
Miss White, you have no right to take your own life.
Dr. Watson? Did you just save me? Or worse?
The Kew Gardens drama. Miss White is a desperate woman, a victim of society. When Dunn cast her aside, her life stopped. She killed him in pure desperation with the help of Martin Hamish. She was the one who locked the door of the Colonial Collection Room directly after Hamish released the caterpillars. She did not deserve such a terrible fate. Clues found 22. White is an accomplice. We chose to absolve Miss White because, I mean, you could drive me to committing murder as well if you did it the right way. This is a pretty fucked up situation for her, I think. But that is going to be my moral choice in the end. Unfortunately, we had to replay that because that didn't make much sense to me with a strange roll thingy with a recording on it. But I guess she could have just faked that. There's no reason that should have been recorded at that date, right? It's not like there's a timestamp on it. She just said, "Oh, yep, this is what I recorded," and if it's a long one, well, she could have just lied, right? I guess that's how they explained that situation. Oh well. That's gonna be it with the Kew Gardens drama. Unfortunately, I want to end the recording session for the moment, so I'm gonna have to not only accept the decision, but also watch the intro for the next case. Hidden Samaritan. Case statistics, 91% of the people solved the case the same way, and 24% only made the same moral choice. Huh. A deadly flower. A half moonwalk. This is going to be the last case.
Where are you going, Holmes? Have you been invited somewhere?
We have been invited, Watson,
We have. Where to?
to the Baker Street Irregulars' annual dinner. They sent us an invitation. It is on the table.
A dinner? How could those street urchins afford anything like that? I can't understand your interest in them, Holmes. They're dirty. They wouldn't hesitate to steal your wallet.
Watson, you should be excited. It is a secret dinner. Its location changes every year. Read the menu. Sounds mouth-watering.
All right. We, the secret police of Baker Street, invite you, Sherlock Holmes, and Dr. Watson to our annual dinner. Menu, entree, frozen rat head salad. Is this a joke?
Not at all. Pray continue.
Main course, sow's udder in Danny Nutcracker's way. Sounds disgusting, Holmes. Hedgehog goulash. Street turnips in homemade juice. And it goes on.
Ah, I can hear them on the stairs now.
Oh, we can't go there. We can't eat that.
Watson, you'll hurt the feelings of those poor children. We have to go.
Oh, Mr. Holmes.
It is fine, Mrs. Hudson.
Mr. Holmes!
Wiggins, Dr. Watson is getting ready. He will be delighted to join us. You don't look well, my young man. Is there something wrong? Don't tell me the dinner is cancelled.
Mr. Holmes is my brother Leighton. He's in a prison cell. They say he's killed 2 men. You have to help us, Mr. Holmes, 'cause I know he didn't do it.
Where is he now?
From what I've heard, they took him to the yard, and they gave him a good beating already. You know what they're like. They'll hang him. They won't look any further.
Holmes, we have to help him.
And forget about the dinner? Wiggins, I'll take the case.
You're fantastic, Mr. Holmes. I'll be waiting for you at the crime scene. You'll be there, right? It's on Half Moon Street in Whitechapel.
Very well.
Alright, but not right now. For the moment, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I will see you in the next episode as well. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope I will see you next time. Until then, bye-bye.